Hello, this is Rivayir. Hope everyone is doing well. Today's video is a top 10 list of the best beginner classes in Tree of Savior. I thought I'd make this list because the new servers and the episode 12 update will hit the international version of Tree of Savior very soon. So I wanted to make a short guideline video for new players or players that tried the game at launch and want to give it a second try with these new servers and the big update coming. Before we get started, please note that this list is objective. So if you have any other classes in mind that would be great for beginners, you can of course leave a comment in the comment section. And the classes in this list are actually your first class choices after you level your base class, which are these 5 here, to class level 15. So for example, if you create a new character and decide you want to become a scout, you have to level your scout to class level 15, and after that on the right side of your screen an advancement button will show up, and then you can choose any of these classes as your first class selection. You can do this 2 more times for a total of 3 different classes in your build. So let's stay right here, because at number 10 we have Ardito. Ardito is a very straightforward class. It has a lot of different attack skills, which are the skills with a red background. It even has a DOT skill here in Tre Granat, which means damage over time. So you throw those grenades on the ground, it will hit several enemies, and it will do continuous damage for, as you can see here, 8 seconds. This support skill is a self-healing skill, and all the other skills are pretty straightforward. The good thing about the Ardito class is that all attack skills have relatively high skill factors, and what you need to consider as well is that if you want to play Ardito, you have to use a dagger as a sub-weapon, and of course mandatory for all scout classes is a one-handed sword in your main hand. So let's get right to number 9, which is Sorcerer. Sorcerer is the be-all end-all class of all summoning classes and builds in Tree of Savior. Your main skill is the summoning skill here. In order to use the skill, you need boss cards. You can obtain them by killing world bosses, killing bosses in instance dungeons, or buying them from the market from other players. As a beginner, the first card you should get is a Never Bovine card, because it has very good damage. It has a knockdown skill, it's easy to use, and you can use it to ride around at a faster movement speed. You have other summoning skills here with Small Familia, Small Salamion, and Small Servant. Small Servant is pretty good because it's actually a buff machine here. As you can see, it has several different effects, so it's quite useful in party play. Riding and Morph are commands, and Evocation and Desmodus are just normal attack skills. At number 8 we have Barbarian in the Swordsman tree. Barbarian has always been kind of decent, but ever since the rebuild update hit, Barbarian has become really good. You have Empower and Stomping Kick here, which I would advise you not to skill. These skills were actually planned to be deleted by the publisher IMC once rebuild hit, but they decided to keep it in the game and wanted to rework those 2 skills heavily. They haven't done this really until now, so my advice to you is to avoid these skills. You have 2 buff skills in Warcry and Frenzy, which I would advise you to max. They are very good and they will help all your other class selections damage wise as well. And you have the 3 main attacking skills in Pouncing, Sizing, and Cleave. Sizing and Pouncing should be maxed under any circumstance, and Cleave is up to you. In my opinion, it's a 1-point hit wonder, because only the skill factor increases if you plan to increase the skill level. All other additional buffs or debuffs are staying the same, so my advice to you is to keep it at level 1. At number 7 we have Pyromancer. Pyromancer was very OP in the beginning of the game when it was first launched, and then it went through a rut for a few months, but since rebuild it has become very good again. The prime skill of the Pyromancer Back in the day was Fireball, but Firewall has changed dramatically. You might remember Firewall as a skill that you cast and which can then be thrown around by other players in order to hit enemies. And you might also remember that it has a great, or it had a great synergy with Psychokinos, Psychic Pressure. Forget all that because this is gone. Fireball now works completely different. It works now like Energy Bolt from the Wizard base class, or Alchemistic Missile, or Ice Bolt. So it's up to you if you want to put any skill points into it or not. My advice is not to skill it. Then we have Firewall, which is kind of decent. The most common use of Firewall is placing down 2 firewalls that would form a cross. It's up to you if you want to use it or not. Enchant Fire is quite decent in order to make money, but in order to do that you have to max the skill. Other than that, it's not that useful until an update will hit that will greatly increase the elemental damage of all skills that have a similar effect to Enchant Fire. Then we have Flame Ground and Fire Pillar, which in my opinion should be maxed under any circumstances, because they are also DOT damage over time skills that have a very wide range and a great damage output. You have Hail Breath as a channel skill, which is a great addition to Flame Ground and Fire Pillar. And then you have Prominence, which is new to the Pyromancer tree. They received it from the Elementalist tree. Prominence in itself has become much better over time. It now has less of an RNG factor through it. Prominence are flames that come out of the ground and will now chase enemies in their vicinity and damage them. You can either put 1 point into it in order to just get the arts attribute, which is extremely good because it will automatically spawn fireballs around your character that will continuously damage enemies, which do very good damage, or you can max it because the skill factor is relatively good. At number 6 we have Bullet Marker. Bullet Marker is one of those classes that has always been good, it remains good, and it will always be good. The first thing you need to do as a Bullet Marker is to put 1 point in target gun stance, because this is a mandatory skill in order to use any of the other Bullet Marker skills. The main damaging skills for you should be Rip and Bloody Overdrive, and then you can decide what you want to get. Freeze Bullet is more of a PvP skill, so either put 1 point into it, 5 or none. Tracer Bullet should be left at 1 in order to get the attribute here, which increases your critical chance. Mozambique Drill is very good. Outrage is also very good. Smash Bullet is up to you, and Tase and Napalm Beat is also up to you. At number 5 we have my personal favorite, the Corsair class. Corsair is maybe one of those classes that has gone through the most changes over time. You might remember Corsair being part of the Swordsman's class tree. It's now in the Scout tree. Back then Corsair was more of a support class, but now as you can see it has a red icon, so it's more of an attacking class. All of its attacking skill like Dustdale, Hexendropper, Quick and Dead, and Impale Dagger have great skill factors, and almost all of them hit multiple times, which makes for great damage output. Double Weapon Assault should be avoided in my opinion until it gets buffed, and you don't have to press 2 keys back and forth in order to even use it. But what sets Corsair really apart from most classes are the Brutality and the Jolly Roger buffs. These are insane DPS buffs that will not only help your Corsair class, but the other 2 class selections you are going to choose afterwards as well. It helps any scout build and the rest of your party members in case you're partying. At number 4 we have Inquisitor. Inquisitor is a physical attacking class in the Cleric tree, which is very good. Also one of those classes that remained very good over time. The first skills you should of course get are God Smash and Breaking Wheel. God Smash is has a great skill factor, a lot of overheat charges, a relatively low cooldown. Breaking Wheel is a DOT, so damage over time skill that will damage all enemies in your vicinity for a certain amount of time. Other than that, Ripper is very good, but please keep in mind Ripper is only available after you achieved class level 31 of the class, so yeah, you should save up 5 skill points. Fear of Anguish and Maleus Maleficarum are more PvP oriented skill, but they still have need special effects attached to them other than their high skill factor, so read through the effects and see if you can squeeze them into your build. Iron Maiden is a DOT skill that is only in effect against one monster, but it's excluding boss monsters and it only works on small and medium enemies, so you have to make a decision if it makes sense to put 10 points into a skill that is pretty restricted. Judgment, in my opinion, is a one-point hit wonder. It turns all your enemies into demon type. So it's useful to increase the damage of skills such as God Smash and other skills that do additional damage to certain enemy types, in this skill demon types. At number 3 we have Doppelsöldner. Doppelsöldner is an evergreen, meaning always a very good class, and it remains a very good class. It's not super duper OP or anything, but it's very much recommended. Deeds of Valor is a great damage buff, but please keep in mind that you will also take additional damage while it's in use. Double Pay Earn now works differently than before. It increases your looting chance. This is the chance to get unidentified equipment, which you can then identify in the city by appraiser characters and then get random stats attached to the equipment. Please keep in mind, plus 300 looting chance at max level is not that high. It's okay, but it's nothing to go crazy about, and that you will take double damage as long as the skill is active. So if you want to make a farming character, dedicated one, then you can max it. Other than that, maybe avoid it. Cyclone is the main damaging skill of the class, but it's now at the end of the skill tree, meaning you will only get it after class level 31, so you have to work your way around the damaging skills you get beforehand. Zornhau is very good in conjunction with Suken, but maybe consider only putting one skill point into it in order to save your skill points. You have Redel, which is also a skill that hits multiple times and does double damage on bleeding enemies, so if you have some kind of skill that inflicts bleeding, that works great together with Redel. And Sturzhau does decent damage with a lot of overheat charges and ignores half of the defense of enemies, which is pretty helpful. At number 2 we have the Elementalist, which is here. Elementalist even got better in rebuild because it received this neat little support skill. As you can see here, at max level, it grants you a buff that increases the damage bonus of property attacks when attacking enemies' weakness. So double damage for all your Elementalist skills when you make sure that you hit with the right element, which is great. Hail remains a very good skill, but please read through the skill description, since as you can maybe see here, it does extra damage on small enemies, but on large enemies it only does half the damage. Elementalist received a new skill called Fireclaw that has a relatively decent damage output, but you have to decide for yourself if you really want to put 15 points into it. As a relatively new skill, we have Storm Dust, which replaces the old Frost Cloud, but it functions more or less the same. Very good. Meteor has an insane skill factor, but a high cooldown and a cast time, so you may want to pair up Elementalist with Chronomancer in order to get quick cast, to cast faster. But I would advise you to play around with Elementalist and see if you absolutely need Chronomancer. If you feel like you don't need the cast reduction, you can go with other classes. Stone Curse, a 1-point hit wonder. Electrocute, up to you if you want to max it or not. The skill factor is relatively good and it hits 10 targets, so that's fine. And at number 1 we have, who would have guessed, Exorcist. Exorcist is insane. Rubric is probably, in my opinion, the best damaging skill in the game. It's insane. Look how many attributes it has. The damage output is insane. It has different attributes that can increase the damage further. You can transform your holy damage into dark damage if you want with the arts attribute, which is this one, the corruption arts attribute. You have Aqua Benedicta, which is a DOT skill with insane damage output. You've got Gregorate, that increases the damage of all your holy attacks in the Exorcist tree. You've got Kata di Caso, which does a bit less damage than the other skills, but has 2 overhit charges, a low cooldown, and it has a really wide range. Enkikrateia reduces the damage taken from, let's see, demon type enemies. You have to decide for yourself if you want to put any points into it, because it only lasts 3 seconds. And if you get the proper attribute, it lasts in total 6 seconds. So maybe something for tank type characters. And then you got Entity, which you have to decide for yourself if you want to skill them or not. They're fine. But your main focus should be these 4 skills, because they're very straightforward. They are very strong. They also increase your damage, wide range. Exorcist is complete insanity and makes it really easy for you to get into the game. So that's the list I wanted to show you guys. Leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitch, and as I said, leave a comment if you have any additional class recommendations for other players. Until next time, take care and see you.